ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूत भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमहायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततन्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै। Verse 20. परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यस्य सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति. So this chapter 8 is also showing a means to gain moksha, the freedom, the absolute freedom. Everyone has a relative freedom here and there. When you enjoy that freedom, relative freedom, then that's also a moment of joy, where you don't have any sense of limitation. So you are free from limitations experientially. That's what desirability is. That's what we desire. But we don't know the source. Even though we experience this relative freedom, we generally take that the freedom is gained by the experience of a particular object, which is not the case actually. And if that will be the case, that really an object brings such kind of a relative freedom, one should not be free in a deep sleep state where there is no object. So if we analyze the states, we really find waking in deep sleep state, when you analyze, when you compare it, then you realize in waking state there are so many objects. If objects bring freedom, then the waking state is the most desirable. But in fact, we feel more bondage in waking state while experiencing objects. So sometime here and there in those experiences in a waking state, one has a relative freedom. Freedom from any limitation, limitation of time, freedom from limitation of any attributes. You all the time aware of your own certain attributes which haunt you. Sometimes you have a limitation in terms of a space. Very dear person is very away from you and you all the time want to meet the person, right? So you feel experientially a space-wise limitation. And that all thing brings ultimately a pain in one's life. So while one becomes relatively free, even in a waking state, But if it is not brought by the object. Otherwise, waking state would be the state of a freedom. But that's not the case. In fact, when there are all objects, including the body, mind, sense, complex, etc., also is absent. Relative. It is resolved. You feel that centered on you, just you enjoy freedom. Therefore, the freedom really must be my own nature. That's called absolute freedom. Knowing that I am absolutely free. But anyway, here in chapter 8, this has been shown. One should know. It is simple, self-knowledge. But no, there are other means of gaining this freedom. What? Do upasana. Do meditate on Brahman. Meditation on Brahman, basically brings aikyam. Any upasana, the culmination of any meditation is aikyam with the upasya devata. And therefore, if one does a Virat upasana, one has a aikyam, identity with the Virat. That's the culmination of any meditation. The object of you and the object of meditation become one. That's the result. So here also, you meditate on Brahman, Ishvara. Definitely then you gain Brahman. He is going to say that. You gain Brahma Loka. And, but why not, Swamiji? Gaining Brahman means gaining Nirgunam Brahman. It is described in terms of a going, etc. It is showing a very pleasant path, very bright path by which the person, the upasaka, the meditator goes. Definitely that is talked about as in Sagunam Brahma, natural. Nirgunam Brahma, there is a question of it's limitless. There is no question of going somewhere. Where you are Brahman. Under that condition, at that place, with whatever the attributes you have, and in that situation you are Brahman. That's the knowledge. And that's the knowledge. That's how Pujya Swamiji always say, what is Brahman. So what is Brahman. Every thought is Brahman, everything is Brahman. So that is a different thing. But other than this self-knowledge, one can definitely meditate on this Sagunam Brahma, Ishvara. And then, if you develop that habit of meditating with the alambana, he said also in the verse number 13, Omiteka aksharam brahma vyaharan mamanusmaran. Resorting to a symbol, a sound symbol called Om, and bringing the concept of Brahman on that. Superimposing Brahman on that. Wonderful superimposition. One superimposition leads to liberation. Other superimposition leads to bondage. Yeah. There are two types of superimposition. One is welcomed superimposition. Any upasana is a superimposition. And so basically a given thing is just a metal or a stone. But you superimpose a Ishvara on that. That's the most wonderful thing. It's a deliberate superimposition. Deliberate superimposition means with the knowledge that this thing is such and such, yet you superimpose. The other superimposition is born of ignorance. That brings a samsara. That brings a bondage. Anyway, so here this superimposition on Omkara, Omiteka aksharam, ekaksharam, or aksharam. This is nothing but aksharam Brahma. Naksharati iti aksharam, which does not decay, which does not change, which is timeless. That's called aksharam. And word akshara is very, very, very famous in the Shastra for the Brahman. Mundaka Upanishad talks about the Brahman or Atma, introduces as aksharam. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in fact, there is a whole Brahmana called Akshara Brahmana, which is a conversation between Yajnavalkya and Gargi. Gargi asks about what is that aksharam, and in the replying that Yajnavalkya gave a definition of the aksharam or Brahman, which is the biggest definition in the Shastra. Almost 4 lines. By negation, etc. Sthulam, ananuhu, arasvam, adirgam, achayam, alohitam, anakasham, etc., etc. So, so aksharam word is popular as such for Brahman. So you superimpose this concept of this Brahman upon the Omkara, the symbol, sound symbol, and meditate. Initially, It's a tough job because your mind runs away here and there. But if you keep meditating like this, you will form an habit. And your mind will definitely gets into the rut of that. Anything. Here we are talking about this. Even if you take any chant, you just repeat for 1 hour. Then you start doing your own things. In one part of your brain, it keeps doing. So take the advantage of this faculty. And so, then Vyaharan, Omiti Ekaksharam Vyaharan, chanting. Vyaharan means chanting this Omkara. Well, superimpose this Omkara, Brahman upon that. Anusmaran means even if you are doing something else, well, that will remain. It will follow you. Yokaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mam Anusmaran. And then definitely Bhagavan says this person also will go to Brahmaloka, gains Brahman, Sagunam Brahma, gains knowledge and never returns. He never returns, becomes free from samsara, punarjanma, etc. He is been told in several verses. Bhagavan keeps repeating that. And so in fact, in a verse number 15 also, he says, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayama shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramangataha. Mamupetya, reaching me, well, ultimately, punarjanma, which is dukkhalayam, which is ashashvatam, na apnuvanti. Keeps telling, Abrahma bhuvanan lokaha punaravartinaha mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. So, there is another route. A route of upasana where person is not exposed to this teaching. Teaching is this, Vedanta is this, everything is Ishvara. This is the vision. And one who imparts the vision, one who gives this vision, well, that is the tradition. So tradition only brings this vision that everything is Ishvara. Because there are methods of revealing everything is Ishvara. So that vision has been brought by the traditional teachers throughout. And well, if one gains it, then everything is Ishvara, means I am Ishvara, I am Brahman, etc. That's very clear. But here, this root Shastra shows that one can meditate on Brahman like this, taking Alambanam, go to Brahmaloka and then gain knowledge that you are free and you become free. That's what has been sold, which is, Pashakara says, Kramena, Krama Mukti, not Sadhya Mukti. Here itself you are free and you know you are free, fine. No, Kramena. Going somewhere and then gaining knowledge. So that's the Krama Mukti. Very nicely said that. I'm just giving you a little background because I find new people every time a little bit. So I am obliged to do this. But anyway, so this 8th chapter is a really unique chapter which talks about Krama Mukti. There is no other chapter. Even though Upasana has been told by Bhagavan in the 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th chapter, even Virat Upasana, or even taking certain glories, 10th chapter, even 7th chapter talks about glories. The mention of the glories of Bhagavan by Bhagavan is ultimately for meditation. That's how this Madhyama Shatka is Upasana. Prathama Shatka is a karma predominant, they say, people. Acharya, they divide like this. So first 6th chapter karma, this next chapter, because it's ultimately the essence of the Veda. So whatever is the subject matter of the Veda is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. The Smriti is always based on Shruti. It discusses the subject matter of the Shruti only. So karma, upasana, and the last 6 Charama, they call Charama Shatka, 13 to 18 talks about Jnanam. So that is how it, and we find chapter 13, chapter 15 are literally Upanishad, independent Upanishad like thing. So anyway, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga, Atman Atma Viveka, etc. Even 15th chapter also, Purushottama Yoga, etc. Anyway, so this is regarding the chapter. And Bhagavan also talked meanwhile that these jivas will keep returning. At the time of pralaya they become unmanifest, and then at the Srishtikala they again become manifest, they get the body, etc. and therefore one is never free from this janma maranam, etc. Then what is ultimately the solution for that has been told by Bhashyakara in verse number 20's introduction itself. And that is says, Yad upanyastam aksharam tasya prapti upayah nirdishtah omite kaksharam brahma ityadina. Atha idanim aksharasya eva swarupa nirdidikshaya idam uchyate anena yoga margena idam gantavyam. Yad upanyastam aksharam, upanyastam, introduced. This aksharam has been already introduced in a 13th verse. Omite kaksharam brahma. So aksharam is already introduced. And resort to, the sound omkara and superimpose the concept of the Brahman, etc. on that. So tasya prapti upaya nirdishtah. Upasana has been mentioned. Prapti upaya. Gaining Brahman. How you gain Brahman? Well, you meditate on akshara. Well, with the help of omkara, sound symbol. Ityadina. Omite kakshara ityadina nirdishtah. Atha idanim, now. Aksharasya eva swarupa nirdidikshaya. Nirdidikshaya. Nirdeshtum ichcha iti nirdidiksha. So, what is that aksharam? That's fine. You said aksharam brahma has to be superimposed upon this omkara, etc. But what is the aksharam? That has not been said so far. So, aksharasya eva swarupa nirdidikshaya idam uchyate. Now, Bhagavan is saying in verse number 20. Anena yoga margena idam gantavyam. Yoga margena, upasana margena idam gantavyam. So this gaining this Brahman, etc., ultimately knowledge, but gaining this Brahman, going through the Brahmaloka, reaching Brahmaloka and then gaining knowledge and then gaining Brahman as so. So that is been mentioned. What is that aksharam, Brahma? Because knowing which ultimately one becomes free from this punarjanma, etc. So that has been said here. And now here, one thing is, we should know this, Jiva also is that way, anityam. So far as his name and form is concerned, is also anityam. So Jiva only becomes unmanifest, now then they become manifest, etc. But Jiva also is anityam. I am a Jiva, etc. is not a reality in as much as, see, the Jiva, why it is from the standpoint of a name and form, it is anityam. Jiva is by nature, it's Brahman only. So, what happens is the name and form, like physical body. Well, physical body goes, subtle body remains. Subtle body goes, causal body remains. Right? Causal body remains. But causal body also is anityam. Generally, what we generally find like this, the cause is nityam and the effect is anityam. That's how we generally say. Pot is anityam, clay is nityam. Or we say sometimes satyam. So, and therefore, the physical body and the subtle body, which is an effect of the causal body, therefore cause is causal body, that is nityam. And the physical body and subtle body are anityam, etc. No. Big difference here. Don't think this cause, the causal body is nityam. No, it is anityam. And that has been shown in this verse. That there is something which is even the basis for the causal body, for the unmanifest, etc. So I am Jiva, etc. Also ultimately that we say, we never find it's a mixture of something. We never find. But it is a mixture. In fact, everything is a mixture. But I am an individual when I say, I am a Jiva when I say. It is really a mixture. There is a Satyamsha and there is a Mithyamsha, both in that. So, because basically the Atma consciousness manifests in the Antakarana, and that's how the I sense arises. So, definitely I involves three things. One is Antakarana, one is that reflection, etc. And third is this original consciousness. All the three are there. And therefore, just mere Antakaranam cannot say I, because it is Jadam. Mere Chidabhasa, independent of anything, can say I know, because any Chidabhasa, any reflection is never independent of the medium, Buddhi, the Antakaranam. And therefore, definitely Chidabhasa alone cannot say I. Buddhi cannot say I because it is Jadam. Original consciousness, the consciousness, Atma, Brahman has no I sense at all. And therefore, basically, neither of them, independent of each other, can say I. Therefore, I is basically a mixture. No Chidabhasa is possible without the consciousness, and therefore the Chit, and therefore that is also there, which is a Satyamsha, and whereas the Buddhi, etc., and that they resolve, they keep coming and going, etc., the subtle body, etc., also resolves into Karana Sharira. And well, of course, the Chidabhasa also will resolve. Only the consciousness, that is the Satyamsha. And therefore, basically, I am Jiva, I am an individual. That is, well, identifying with the name form, Antakarana, etc., then the Chidabhasa, etc., one says that. That is, which is Mithya actually. Which, I mean, the consciousness alone lends the existence to Antakarana and Chidabhasa also, everything. And therefore, ultimately, I am consciousness is the reality. That is the basis. And therefore, this physical body, subtle body resolves into the causal body, unmanifest, but it has a basis in this consciousness, the Brahman, etc. And therefore, so this is, Bhagavan says here, parahatu tasmat, avyaktat anyaha avyaktaha bhavaha sanatanaha. Tasmat parahat. Because that has been mentioned in the previous word. Tasmat means from that. From that means from that unmanifest, which has been said in the verse number 19, etc. And even 18, 17, everywhere. That from the unmanifest comes the manifest. And that unmanifest again becomes manifest becomes unmanifest. That is how even Jiva also goes from unmanifest to the manifest, etc. So, Tasmat means from that. Means from that avyaktat, which is the cause, which is the seed of the entire manifest creation. While Tasmat means avyaktat paraha. Paraha means distinct. There is something which is distinct from even this unmanifest, which is the cause. Right? Once you come to the cause, well, you need not have to inquire further. Whole effect resolves into cause. The cause is Satyam, etc., or cause is Nityam. One need not inquire into, but you have to inquire here. That is ultimately the Jiva resolves, physical body resolves, subtle body resolves, etc., and goes to unmanifest. Well, but that unmanifest, I mean identifying with the Karana Upadhi, the Jiva remains, which is unmanifest Jiva. Well, and that also has a basis. There is something which lends existence to this also, and which is distinct from that. So that is Tasmat Avyaktat Paraha. Avyaktat bhavaha sanatana. And tu is said here. Paras tasmat. Tasmat avyaktat. Paraha distinct. Tu. Tu is to indicate the distinction. Tu is very much, tu here is to distinguish this paravastu, brahmavastu from everything else, from unmanifest and manifest, of course. So, everything else has been ultimately reduced to avyaktam, unmanifest, but superior to that also. Paraha, sometimes they say, superior also, superior to that avyaktam, unmanifest. Well, there is something else, which is even basis for this unmanifest. So, generally we find when everything is reduced to avyaktam, well, the cause, well, and if someone says there is something even beyond that, there is something which is distinct from that, there is something which is superior than that, we find it is non-existence, because ultimately everything reduces to the cause. Like a standing on the North Pole, if somebody says that there is something north to the North Pole, well, that is, there is nothing north to North Pole. So that is like that. So everything is reduced to cause. Now there is something which is even cause to that, which is really the cause, because it lies in existence to that. No one believes. No one believes. That's how Bhagavan says, bhavaha. Don't think it is a bhava. Don't think that there is a non-existent thing which is there. No. Bhava. Bhavati iti bhavaha, asti iti bhavaha. There is something which is existent. In fact, that is self-existent, which lends existence to the unmanifest and ultimately manifest also. Well, that is self-existent thing is there, which is distinct from avyaktam, unmanifest. Also, that is there. And okay, parastasmat tu bhavaha. Paraha, distinct, superior, etc. Then Bhagavan again used anyaha. So paraha also distinct, anyaha also is distinct. So Bhashyakara says anyaha, well, vilakshanaha. Why you should say Anyaha? Once you said that there is something distinct from Avyaktam, unmanifest, once you said by word Paraha, you need not have to use word Anyaha. No, it is required. Well, it says, Bhashyakara says, Vyatiriktatve sati api salakshanya prasangaha. Asti iti tad nivrutyartham aha. There is the occasion of a salakshanyam. I'll explain you. Salakshanyam, lakshanam means a characteristic. Salakshanam means similar characteristic. There are things which are distinct from each other, yet belong to the same group. A table is there, this table is there, the chair is there. Table is distinct from the chair is distinct from the table, etc. Fine. But still they belong to one group, one class called furniture. And therefore when you say this so-called Brahman is distinct from Avyaktam, right? But could be a part of the Brahman, could be a part of the world, different from what is unmanifest. Could be a Devata, could be a Loka, something. Well, so therefore this word Anyaha has been brought here just to get rid of this possibility also that it is distinct in an entirely different way. I mean, it's of the different nature. Entire unmanifest is Jadam, we know very well, which is not self-existent, well, which derives existence from this, which is self-existent, self-illumining consciousness. Definitely it's a distinct in nature also. And therefore it doesn't belong to the same class. It does not belong to the same class. So not just distinct, but it is also of different class. For that word Anya has been said by Bhagavan. That's how Bhashyakara explains that. So it is not this Brahman, etc., which is not non-existent. It is not momentarily existent. It is existent and at the same time distinct from everything else. It is self-existent. And what is that? Well, it has been said here. Another word has been used. Avyaktam. Avyakta. Avyaktat paraha avyaktaha. So, avyaktat paraha avyaktaha. Bhagavan uses word for Atma, it uses word avyaktaha. Avyaktaha, Atma or Brahman, well, Bhagavan uses this word, which is, so bhavaha, which is existing, and it is also avyaktaha. Avyakta means simple. It is something which is not available for objectification. That's it. What is not available for objectification, it is as good as non-existent, we feel. Right? Avyaktaha is not available for objectification. And it is not available for objectification through the senses, through the mind. It is the very cause of the mind. It's the very cause of the sense organs. It is not an object of the sense organs. It is not object of sense organs. It is not the sense organ. It is because of which the sense organ is sense organ. Where this kind of definition is there, that is what the Kenopanishad says. Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha, Vachoha Vacham, Pranasya Pranaha. Ultimately, Chakshushas Chakshuhu. And therefore it is the eye of the eye. It is because of which the eye functions. It's because of which the eye exists. It is because of which the eye is conscious and functions. And therefore, eye is totally non-separate from the consciousness. There is something which is behind the eye because of which eye is able to see. So that is which is behind the eye is not an object of eye. It's not, it's object of sight. It's not object of hearing. It's not sound. It's not form, etc. So, well, it's not going, then how are you going to know that Brahman? You said you should know that Brahman. What is that Brahman? We asked, and you are giving that it is not available for objectification, even not by mind also. It is behind the mind. We understand this very well. Whether the thought is there or not, you are there. Whether the sight is there or not, you are there. Yeah, it's not the sight proves your existence. It's not your thinking proves your existence. It's not that your inference proves your existence. You are, therefore there is inference. Earlier it was different. From Descartes there was a philosophy arise. You infer, therefore you are. Ultimately, fortunately, he also realized that that's not true. If thought is not there, therefore I am not there. No. To say that there is no thought, I am there. And therefore this I is something which is self-existent. Nobody proves its existence. In fact, everything is proven, right? Its existence is proven because I is there. And therefore, I am the truth of sense organs. I am, and that I basically is ultimately manifest in the mind. I am the very cause of the mind. I manifest in the mind as the very aham, I. And then I can realize that the I, the truth of I, is this consciousness. Well, with the identification of the senses, mind and body, etc., one functions. That's a functional I. We call ahankara, etc. But the truth of I is this consciousness, which is self-illumining, self-existent. And it is always manifest as the very truth of every organ, every thought. Very basic, and it's also basis of avyaktam. This is all basis of the vyaktam, I said. Well, then they become unmanifest. Still it is the basis and the unmanifest, which is the seed of the all the beings, all entire world. Okay, so parastasmat tu bhavaha anyaha vyaktaha. Then Bhagavan says sanatanaha. Bhashakara says chirantanaha. Sanatanaha chirantanaha. Means, well, it always, it is something which always exists. The Atma, the Brahman, which always exists, it's beyond cause and effect. In fact, this cause-effect is really, it's just a myth. Frankly speaking, cause-effect, we brand it, of course, in an empirical world, that's everything is fine. But ultimately, the reality is Brahman, everything is Brahman, means basically there is no cause and there is no effect. And if you want to say cause and effect, the effect is also Brahman and the cause is also Brahman. Really speaking, it is beyond cause and effect. That's how Kathopanishad, the Nachiketa asked the question about Atma, Brahman, and he asked the question that what is that thing which is beyond cause and effect, etc. So this is our Sanatana, which is not a cause, which is not an effect. Because effect is mithya and therefore the causehood, the status of a cause also is mithya. Frankly speaking, it is everything is just one Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. That's how it is. So it is chirantanaha. It existed before, it exists now, it will be existent forever. It is timeless. So this beyond, etc., is really, it doesn't make much sense. Because Brahman is not beyond as such. Because as such you can say Brahman is distinct, let's say beyond. Brahman is beyond from everything, but Brahman pervades everything also. And therefore Brahman is present right now also in everything. So it is beyond in terms of, just in terms of the reality, which is very, of a different class. Reality of a different class. It's a really real, we can say, it's a reality, whereas the world, etc., is empirically real. So and therefore it is immanent in everything. Whatever you think of, wherever you reach, whatever you think of is all within this Vyaktam, that or the Atma. And therefore, well, that is really speaking not beyond as such, but anyway, it is timeless, it is existent. And well, that means it is ultimately Drik Swarupa, everything is an object of knowledge, which is pervaded by this Drik, pervaded by the consciousness, which is the nature of this seer, etc. So, Sarveshu Bhuteshu Nashyassu Na Vinashyati. This Brahmaloka, etc., which are within time and place, which are your object of knowledge, which are manifest from the Vyaktam, unmanifest, all that ultimately derives existence from you. They shine on account of you ultimately, and therefore they are within time and place. They of course perish. Manifest becomes unmanifest, from unmanifest they become manifest, etc. So sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu, when all things perish as such, all the beings and things perish, still this na vinashyati, this is timeless, consciousness never perishes. This is what aksharam is. That's how Bhashakara has explained that. Bhagavan has introduced this verse in 20th. Verse 21. Avyakto kshara ityuktah tamahuh paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante taddhama paramam mama. So avyaktaha aksharaha iti uktaha tam ahuhu paramam gatim. This avyakta, this Brahman, this Atma is paramagatihi. This avyakta, which is not subject to destruction, etc., which is aksharam, which is not subject to time, which is sanatana, etc., is paramagatihi. What is gatihi? A place that we reach, that's called gatihi. Or anything which you accomplish. In Shastra, anything which you accomplish is also called gatihi. So, what you achieve, where you reach, is other than you. Definitely, the jiva, the confused jiva as well, they definitely want to reach in this context, reach to Brahma Loka, etc., or reach to any other Loka, Swarga, etc. Well, they are the ends for the jiva who are confused. But the people who want to get rid of this confusion regarding one's own nature, for them, what is the gati? Oneself is a gati. And so, for the jiva who wants to get rid of this confusion, for them, where they want to reach is oneself alone. Then the question is, who wants to reach the self? Where do you want to reach this? That is also self. So there are two self. There are two self. No. It's not true. The answer is all other ends are within the samsara, etc., and they are for the confused jiva. And when you want to be released from the samsara or confusion, the truth of the confused jiva becomes the gati. One wants to know oneself. And that is the gati. So Atma alone is called here moksha. Moksha is a gati, paramagati. Where do you want to reach? I want to gain freedom. Richard, what I want to gain? I want to gain freedom. Moksha. What is the moksha? Atma alone is a moksha. That's it. Atma alone, because everything else other than you is within time and place, which is time bound. That doesn't give you freedom. And therefore, what gives you ultimately freedom from the effect of time and place and attributes, that is just oneself. So for oneself is a gati, means if I don't know who am I, if I have confusion, knowing oneself and is a gati. And how to know? You are seeking what? I am seeking varieties of the things. Various things are sought. But behind all the sought, what you are seeking is a freedom, ultimately. Either you are seeking happiness is relative freedom. So our absolute freedom. So that seeker-sought division continues. A seeker-sought division continues, that is a samsara. And when you have a moment of joy is where the seeker-sought division goes away. That's how it is. Momentarily goes away. Exponentially, the seeker is dropped. Either you gain the sought, which you have sought, you gain it, so seeking is over. Seeker-sought division is over. So you have a joy. Or else, you are the very seeker of the freedom, moksha, that is, you are the seeker of oneself. Moksha means Atma. So you are the seeker and you are the sought. It cannot be possible. No, it is possible. In one case, if you don't know yourself, then you become a seeker and the sought is also you. And therefore, basically, you should get rid of this ignorance. You should gain knowledge. Viveka jnanam, etc. one should gain. So Viveka jnanam becomes the confused jiva is a seeker. The Viveka jnanam is a means. And what is sought is this Atma, which is free from all limitations, which is of the nature of freedom. So this avyakta Atma becomes the end. When the Atma becomes the end, Viveka is a means, and this aviveki, the confused jiva, is a seeker. What is a seeker? Confused jiva is a seeker. What is a sought? The Atma, this avyaktaha, the Atma, the Brahman is a sought, which is of the nature of freedom. Moksha is a sought. And what are the means to gain it? Viveka. Because you already are seeker and you are the sought. Means you have a viveka, you don't know yourself. That's how the seeker-sought division will ultimately go away. That is, in fact, we are behind all our pursuits, we are seeking this. We want to end the very seeking itself, frankly speaking. We don't want to see ourselves as a seeker. We are seeking in order to put an end to the seeking. So everyone is interested in this Advaita only. Seeker-sought division. It's not subject-object. Subject-object is there, but yet the division of seeker-sought resolves in a moment of joy. When you gain even a desirable object, which is object, you are the subject. But in a moment of joy, even though subject-object is there, but the seeker-sought division is not there between them. Yeah. And then you have a wholeness, fullness. Wholeness is nothing but subject-object. What else is wholeness? That experientially you have that wholeness, fullness, happiness. Yeah. So everyone is seeking, really speaking, non-duality. Yeah. You want to become free from this division of seeker-sought. You want to all the time resolve this division of seeker-sought, not division of subject-object. Subject-object will remain, but seeker-sought division I don't want. That division is called Dvaitam. That resolves. You are the very seeker, you are the very sought. You remain seeker if you have Ajnanam and Aviveka, etc. And Viveka Jnanam you gain, well, you gain that sought, the same Atma, which is your own nature. That's how it is. So that's how Paramagatihi, no place, no other accomplishment can come near to this, right? Ultimately what you are seeking is this freedom, which is your own nature. Therefore Paramagatihi, most exalted end. Yam prapya na nivartante, there's another way. Tadhama paramam mama. Any other accomplishment, anywhere you go, you will return. Right? Anywhere you go, well, it will return. So here there is no coming back. Yam prapya, this gaining this Atma, well, na nivartante, there is no coming back. Because it's not an end other than yourself. If it is other than yourself, you go and come back. Anywhere you go and come back. And so most desirable places people go. That is what we want, that's how the concept of heaven, etc. also is there. Going to heaven, going to any place which is where you don't have any difficulties around, that's most desirable. But you return. So basically, yam prapya na nivartante. Well, gaining the self you will never return because one cannot return from oneself. That is not possible at all. Therefore, so and even from a given experience also one returns. Very exalted experience. One returns. What is that exalted experience? Most desirable experience a human being wants is a experience of a samadhi. Absorption. Nirvikalpaka samadhi. Absorption into oneself which is free from any duality. That's what is most desirable. Right? But even there also, one returns from this samadhi. They call samadhi vyutthanam. One comes out of this samadhi. If you don't have a knowledge that you are nirvikalpaka, you are non-dual, there is nothing other than you, if you are not aware of it and you have an experience of a nirvikalpaka samadhi, not knowing you are a nirvikalpaka atma, if you don't know, then well you will return. And well you will seek again that experience. Nirvikalpaka samadhi experience you seek again. So from an experience, a most exalted experience also person returns. But if you have knowledge, there is no question of return. In fact, for a nirvikalpa samadhi, they should be free from all other thoughts. Yogaha tu chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta vritti nirodha. All other thoughts should go. What is the knowledge? Every thought is Satchidananda. There is a thought, it is Satchidananda. Thought is not there, there is Satchidananda. Right? Mind is there, Satchidananda. Mind is not there, Satchidananda. No thought can replace Satchidananda. And that's, if you know this kind of a thing, well, you won't worry about the thoughts are there or thoughts are not there, whether there will be a samadhi, this kind of a samadhi is there or not, where all other thoughts should go away. No. Because every thought is Satchidananda. And thought is not there also, you are Satchidananda. Means the absence of thought, when the thought goes away, well, you are now not Satchidananda, etc. No, you are the same Satchidananda. And therefore, thought arises from you, when the thought, the nature of the thought, nature of the mind is Satchidananda. And nothing can replace Satchidananda. Knowing this, where is the return? You don't need, in fact, such an exalted experience also of samadhi, etc. So, yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Well, Bhagavan says this dhama, abode. Atma alone is indeed the abode. It is the highest end, and it's a paramagati. It's a going to a place, let's say, going to a place where there is no return, and it is, so Bhagavan is very, very, very clear. Bhagavan says, I have no abode other than you. That's what it means. I have no abode. Don't search anywhere else. In Brahmaloka, this, there, nowhere. Don't search anywhere. I have no abode other than you. So, Tadhama Paramam Mama. Well, this is the highest abode. Atma is the highest abode. And achieving this Atma by knowledge, etc., which is the only way to achieve, is called moksha. That's what it is. And now Bhagavan shows in the only means for achieving this. And that is what? Self-inquiry. Because you are confused, right? And you inquire into the self. The self-inquiry is the only solution that has been into the nature of Atma. Well, that has been said in verse number 22. Purushassa paraf partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. So Purushaha saha paraha partha bhaktya labhyah tu. Bhashyakara explains this word Purusha in two ways. We will take both the ways. First, Bhashyakara says Purusha means Puri Shayanat. Puri means this body, we know. Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Kare. Ekadasha Puradvaram Ajasaya Vakra Chetasaha Kathopanishad. So this is a city with the 11 gates. Bhagavan says 9 gates. It's a calculation little, with the windows. So you can say it's a home or it's a city with 11 gates, etc., 9 gates. So Puri Shayanat, one who sleeps in this body is this avyaktaha. Kya baat hai? One who sleeps, then it's over. All are functioning. All are functioning means the presence of that is very much there. It is not sleeping. In its presence, in fact, everything is functioning. Like, all the iron fillings are functioning, dynamic, in presence of that magnet. Or that king. In Kenopanishad, there was a beautiful example of a king. In presence of the king who is very much awake, entire city and all administration functions. King doesn't say anything, king doesn't do anything, king does not make others to do anything. Its presence is enough. That is how the Atma is. So basically, Atma in presence of which everything functions. The body functions. The sense organ function, the respective things. Mind also does its varieties of the function. Mind falls into its object. That's how the question asked. Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha. Manaha patati. Mind falls into its own objects. Mind emotes. Mind imagines. Mind infers. Mind perceives. Senses also perceive. Organs of action does their job. Pranas do their job. All are doing. Means that king is not sleeping. King is very much awake. Therefore, Puri Shayanat. Shayan means sleeping. This is exactly sleeping of Lord Vishnu on Shesha. He is not sleeping. Lakshmi ji. The Prakriti, the Shakti is talking and giving certain names and forms. And Bhagavan says, one name and form. I am lending existence to that. Name and form, Lakshmi ji. And Bhagavan says, means yes. So that is how it's a Shayanam of a Vishnu on Lord Shesha. Puri Shayanat means basically residing in the body, not sleeping in the body. So here, Purushaha, that's how he is. And what is residing? Well, who is ever awake? That is a consciousness. Very beautifully, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Nahi vijñātuhu vijñātehe viparilopo vidyate avinashitvat. Nahi drishtuhu drishtehe viparilopaha vidyate avinashitvat. The consciousness of the seer never ceases to be. It's ever awake. Self-illumining all the time. And therefore, well, this Chaitanya Swarupa Atma is the Purusha here, which resides in this body. And this is the definition of a Purusha, which is called Tatastha Lakshanam. Tatastha Lakshanam. Tatastha Lakshanam means what? The definition that defines a thing while connecting to something is called Tatastha Lakshanam. Connecting to body we are defining, right? Puri Shainat, which resides in the body, which is ever awake, etc. Connecting to the body we are defining this Purusha, the Brahman or Atma. Therefore, this definition is a Tatastha Lakshana. We know other definition of a Brahman also, which has been given in a Bhruguvalli of Taitira Upanishad. Yatova imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisambhishanti. So with respect to the creation, connecting to the creation, Brahman is defined as the very cause of that. Because from whom the whole creation has come, by whom ultimately everything is sustained, and unto whom everything resolves. So connecting to Jagat we define Brahman as the cause, etc. is also Tatastha Lakshanam of Brahman. So anyway, definitely it indicates that Brahman, which is to be sought, tad vijignyasasva, which is to be sought ultimately as that which is out of which all names and forms have come, by which they are sustained and unto which they return, they resolve. So your own physical body also is a name and form. It has come from Brahman. It is sustained by Brahman, resolves into Brahman, means it is non-separate from Brahman. Therefore, this physical body, which is a given name and form, also is pervaded by Brahman. So, don't try to see Brahman in a particular place or in a particular situation, etc. It is right here, from which even this name and form also has manifest. And which is pervading this body, which resides in this body, is this Purusha. So it's a matter of recognizing which is already existing now. So this is self-inquiry. What you take yourself to be an individual, frankly speaking, you are this Purusha. You are this Brahman, consciousness. So very knower also is non-separate from Brahman. The known also is non-separate from Brahman. The name and form which is known, the body, etc., is known to you, is also non-separate from Brahman. The very knower also is non-separate from the knowledge, Brahman. Consciousness. Known and knower cannot exist independent of knowledge, consciousness. And therefore, that knowledge, the consciousness is your nature. See, this is self-inquiry. That is how one will know this Aksharam. That the Aksharam is not somewhere in any situation, etc. It is very much here residing in this, manifesting in the mind as the very Ahankara, very I. That I is really this consciousness. That's the reality. So this is Tatastha Lakshana of the Purusha. And the second is a Swarupa Lakshana of the Purusha. That also Bhashyakara defines. Purnatva, Purnatvatva, Purishayanatva or Purnatvatva. Well, this is a Swarupa Lakshana. A definition which tells the Swarupa, the nature of Brahman is what? Purnam, whole, etc. So it is not limited by space, time or attributes. That's a whole. That's called Purnam, limitless. That's how Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Adaha Purnam. Adaha is equal to Aham. I am that whole. Idam Purnam. And from that whole, all this whole in terms of name and form manifest. From that whole, what is the whole has come means what? All names and forms have manifest. From that whole. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. The whole has manifested. Whole has manifested means in terms of all names and forms. Purnasya Purnamadaya. And if you take away these names and forms, mithya, if you take away these names and forms, what is left is whole. So if you take away the whole from the whole, what is left is whole. That's how it is. And indicating what has manifested in terms of names and form is mithya. Before the creation of names and form, before manifestation of the names and form, what was there is Brahman alone. Right now also, while all the names and forms are there, still it is Brahman alone. And when after resolving also, well, ultimately what is left is all Brahman alone. Therefore, very beautiful definition. So this is a Sarupa Lakshana. Sarupa Lakshana. Brahman is whole, limitless. That's how Bhagavan says, Purushaha Saha Purushaha Paraha. That Purusha which resides here, don't take yourself as a limited conscious being. Paraha, limitless, whole. So Paraha becomes the reason for it to be a Purusha. Purusha not, because it is limitless, it is whole, therefore pervades even all the names and forms. It lends existence to names and forms, etc. Now, how are you going to reach this Parapurusha, etc.? When is already you say you are Purusha, you are that consciousness, then how will you reach? Ananya Bhaktya. Ananya Bhaktya tu labhyaha. One can gain this only by devotion. So, devotion in which there is no other. Ananya Bhakti. Bhashyakara very quietly says, Bhaktya is equal to Jnana Lakshanaya. Yeah. It is in terms of the knowledge. And means you should know, basically. There is a confusion already regarding your own nature. You should know it. So it's a devotion that is characterized by Jnana Lakshanaya. So this Bhaktya means Jnana Lakshanaya means it is a devotion that is characterized by knowledge. In fact, in Bhakti Shastra, you know what they say is, Bhakti in which, well, there is no second thing other than Bhagavan. That's Ananya Bhakti. They define like this. Ananya Bhakti means, please kindly listen. Ananya Bhakti means there is Ananya Bhakti in which there is no, or Ananya Bhakti is in which there is no second thing other than Bhagavan. Bhashyakara says Ananya Bhakti means Bhagavan is not the second thing other than me. Yeah. How can you say, Swamiji? Bhashyakara says, because Ananyaya, Bhashyakara says, Atma Vishayaya. Atma Vishayaya Bhaktya Jnana Lakshanaya. Therefore, it's very clear. So, Bhashyakara's definition of Ananya Bhakti is a little different. Yeah. Bhagavan is not the second thing other than me is called Ananya Bhakti. Yeah. That's how it has been defined. So, I mean, he is non-separate from you. The Brahman is non-separate from yourself. Oh, but therefore, if it is Brahman is non-separate from yourself, then I am Brahman? Yeah, you are Brahman. I don't know it. That's what we say. Jnana Lakshanaya. That's what it is. Therefore, and even in a, the result of devotion generally, wherever the devotion is, any type of devotion, is generally, frankly speaking, I'm not saying the people who come here and just do a namaskara. The real bhaktas, they really want to go to some loka, where Bhagavan stays, Vaikuntha, etc. So the result of devotion in any other case also is to go to other loka, and the commitment is for that, frankly speaking. Commitment is for, not bhakti, but commitment is to reach to that loka. Yeah. So in this Ananya Bhakti, what we are saying, here also there is a commitment. His commitment is one's Atma alone. And Bhakti definitely implies here Shraddha. Bhakti here definitely implies a longing, right? There is a longing. And that longing here also is there. What is that longing? Desire to know oneself. Yeah, that's called Jignasa. Or Mumuksha. Desire to gain freedom. Centered on I want to be free. Nothing should affect me. So far, all the three dimensions of the world, and the three dimensions of the body, which is part of the world, nothing should affect me. Time should not affect me. Attributes should not affect me, should not limit me. Space should not limit me. So everyone wants this a limitlessness by nature anyway. So bhakti definitely, whatever way you say, bhakti means commitment, yes, commitment to oneself. Bhakti means a Shraddha, there is a Shraddha here in the teaching and the teacher and the Shastra. And bhakti means a longing for the Ishvara. Yes, there is a longing to know oneself as Brahman, Parameshvara. And therefore, this is the Ananya Bhakti we define. So Ananya Bhaktya, Labhyaha. It is available. One can gain it. Means all desires basically are reduced to one dominant desire. Dominant desire, consuming desire they call. This is a consuming desire. The desire of a moksha. Moksho me bhuyad iti tivra ichha. Yeah. That is a big homework. Where all your desires turn into a desire for moksha is a homework actually. It's a big homework. That all my pursuits are the pursuits of freedom. One should gain that clarity. If that clarity is there, it will bring commitment to the teaching. Right? And you will long for that. You will desire for that. So, all desires are reduced to this dominant consuming desire to know the Atma. That is the meaning of Ananya Bhakti here. Okay, about that Atma now Bhagavan says in second line, Yasya antasthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. Then one within whom all beings reside, all beings and things in the world are, let us say, or they have a being in that. And by whom, yena sarvam idam tatam, yena purushena, by that purusha, by that Atma, everything is pervaded. That is Atma. That's how definition of Atma has been given. Means just as the material cause pervades the effect in name and form, well, this also Brahman pervades, being the cause, ultimate cause. Not the unmanifest is even cause. Even the existence of the unmanifest is also, due to Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is the ultimate cause. What type of cause? Well, which is a vivarta upadana karana, which is like a rope is a cause for the snake. Without undergoing any change on its part, well, it appears as a given name and form, all the names and forms. Anyway, so that's how the existence of the snake is in what? In the rope. That's how, yena sarvam idam tatam. Antasthani sarvabhutani. I'm sorry. Antasthani, sarvabhutani, antasthani. All the beings and things have a being in this Atma. And that is how we always say, you cannot prove the existence of anything, either a Brahmaloka or anything, without consciousness. Any name and form you utter, the consciousness goes along with that. Right? Any name and form. Chair. Well, when you say chair, means chair is. Okay. Chair is equal to chair consciousness is. And therefore, is consciousness, Satchit, you cannot get rid of it. The name and form can go. Another name and form will be there. Even no name and form, Satchit is Satchit. Given name and form is there, it is Satchit. And therefore, any name and form has a being ultimately in that Satchit. And therefore, Bhashyakara very beautifully says, Karya bhutani. Karyam hi karanasya antarbhavati bhavati. Antasthani it says, so Bhashyakara says, Karyam hi karanasya antarvarti bhavati. Any effect, any product, has a being in a cause. Like a pot has a being in what? In a clay. So therefore, this entire whole creation, which is nothing but the varieties of the names and forms, which has manifested ultimately from this Brahman alone. And therefore, they have a being in them. And Bhashyakara gives another example. Akashena iva ghatadi. So, like the pot that is pervaded by space and within space alone, all pots exist. Same way the Atma, ultimately, which is the cause of everything, all things exist in that. That's how antasthani bhutani. And yena sarvamidam tatam, by that Purusha, by that Atma alone, everything is tatam. Tatam means vyaptam. Idam sarvam. Idam means this Jagat. This Jagat, is pervaded by all the names and forms are pervaded by that consciousness. And therefore, you cannot separate a physical body, a given name and form, from the consciousness. Any name and form you take ultimately reduces to consciousness or Satchit. Any name and form. When you analyze any given name and form, what you get is another name and form. Another name and form. In fact, all names. The content is still not yet. Like take a shirt. Let's say shirt, one part of the one name and form. Shirt is reduced to what? Shirt is reduced to fiber, another name and form. Fiber is reduced to what? Yarn, another name and form. Yarn is reduced to what? Cotton. Fibers, right? So fibers, another name and form. Fibers is reduced to what? Molecules, another name and form. Molecules is reduced to what? Atoms, another name and form. Atom is reduced to what? Subatomic particles, another name and form. Subatomic particles is reduced to what? Something else, something else. Ultimately comes to the concept. Concept is non-separate from consciousness. But Swamiji, it is when we do this, ultimately it comes. You say it is pervaded. All names and forms are pervaded by consciousness. Does the shirt is pervaded by consciousness? Yes, it is pervaded. When you say shirt is, consciousness is. Now you say yarn, fiber is. Fiber consciousness is. Then you say, well, yarn is. Yarn consciousness is. So asti bhati, either they say asti bhati, you cannot get rid of it. Either you reduce name and form, or you take just a particular name and form without further analysis. It is pervaded by what? Is consciousness. Is consciousness. And therefore, basically, yena purushena, atmana, idam sarvam, all the names and forms, tatam, vyaptam, pervaded. So, existence of everything belongs to this Satchitatma, that source. Anyway, so these are the verses regarding the nature of the self, how self-inquiry should be done, how that akshara should be known so that one will be free from this punarjanma. That's a thing. Yeah. But now, this chapter belongs to Upasaka, etc. So, the rest of the verses talk about two paths. So, we'll take all the verses together after the break. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari